I'm opposed to our wasting our military in the Middle East on behalf of Zionist Israel. Thank you.
All right, well, let me just tell you that Israel is a very, very important ally of the United States, and we are going to protect them 100%. 100%. They've been our most reliable. It's our true friend over there, and we're going to protect Israel 100%. I love Israel and honor and respect the Jewish faith and tradition. And it's important that we have a president who feels the same way. For me, respect and reverence for Judaism is personal. My daughter Ivanka and my son-in-law Jared are raising their children in the Jewish faith, always reminding me the important values and lessons we learn about leadership, resolve, and families in Jewish tradition. My administration will stand side by side with the Jewish people and Israel's leaders to continue strengthening the bridges that connect not only Jewish Americans and Israelis, but also all Americans and Israelis. Together, we will stand up to the enemies like Iran, bent on destroying Israel and her people. Together, we will make America and Israel safe again.
Were I a Jew, I would be a Zionist. And my father pointed out to me, I did not need to be a Jew to be a Zionist. For I am. Israel is essential to the security of Jews worldwide.
Well, you know, the biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that. They had such power, Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress.
Commitments from the Saudis don't relate to anything having to do with energy. It happens to be a larger meeting taking place in Saudi Arabia. That's the reason I'm going. And it has to do with national security for them, for Israelis. I have a program. Anyway, it has to do with much larger issues than having to do with the energy.
There is tremendous pressure inside the political process to make sure that the voters stay aligned inside either the Democrat or Republican parties. Why? Because both of those parties have been captured by special interests. And those special interests are, quite frankly, the antithesis of the interests of the people. And there's no more special interest that has any more influence than the pro-Israel lobby.
On Yom HaShoah, we look back at the darkest chapter of human history. We mourn, we remember, we pray, and we pledge, never again, I say it, never again. The mind cannot fathom the pain, the horror, and the loss. 6 million Jews, 2/3 of the Jews in Europe, murdered by the Nazi genocide. They were murdered by an evil that words cannot describe and that the human heart cannot bear. On this Holocaust Remembrance Day, we tell the stories of the fathers, mothers, and children whose lives were extinguished and whose love was torn from this earth. We also tell the stories of courage in the face of death, humanity, in the face of barbarity, and the unbreakable spirit of the Jewish people.
Not only our Muslim communities, but African communities, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, and the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. So there's a second thing in that black box, an unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength. And so
these awards are given to me by the Jewish community for different things, and this is the Tree of Life, which is a very big award in terms of everything that I stand for. It means so much to me, and a lot of times I'll have friends of mine come in, Jewish, and they will see the Tree of Life and they'll say, wow, what a great thing. Likewise, right over here, this is the Shalom Humanitarian Award, and that was presented to me also. And these are different awards I've had over the years for different things I've done. This is when I backed the United States in its big cup race in the yacht race, the America's Cup Foundation, which was terrific. And these are just some of the older magazine covers. Now I have so many that I can't put them up. Different things. That's Variety, where The Apprentice was the #1 show on television. You'll see The Apprentice was #1. This was the finale, #1 on television. You might get close up so you can see it. That was on the cover of Playboy, and it was one of the few men in the history of Playboy to be on the cover, so I don't know. And these are just different magazines. This is a picture with Ronald Reagan that was taken at the White House, and it was he was terrific. I had a very good relationship with him. Not a big relationship because I was young, but he liked me and I liked him. And different things, and if you come to the desk, these are all different magazines over the last 2-3 weeks that came out. That's New York Magazine, Rolling Stone, The Economist, Newsmax, Newsweek, The New Yorker, Hollywood, Time Magazine, Newsweek Magazine. This is over there has to be some kind of a record, Bob, right? But this is over a short period of time.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I thought some of the stories were good. I thought the Time Magazine, the cover of Time was a good story. I think the cover of People was very good. That's not here. But the cover of People magazine was a very good story. And so I've had a lot of fun. And most importantly, we have to make America great again. That's what it's all about. Without that, somebody called up and said, you've done such a great job, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. I said, no, it does. If you don't win, what have I done? I've wasted time. They said, no, what you've done has never been done before. I said, no, I've wasted time. I want to make America great again. And you can't do that if you come in a close second. Okay?
Israel is not the cause of Iraq. Pollard should be given leniency. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. When the Baker Commission filed its report saying peace in Israel is related to Iraq, if you may, I was the first and only person in the Congress to point out, if tomorrow peace broke out in between Israelis and Palestinians, does anybody think there wouldn't be a full-blown war in Iraq? And conversely, if Iraq were transported to Mars, does anyone think there would not be the terrorism visited upon the Israelis every day? And so let's get it straight. Israel is not the cause of Iraq. Iraq being settled or not settled has nothing to do with Israel's conduct. The second part is people should understand by now, that should be crystal clear, that Israel is the single greatest strength America has in the Middle East. I always say to my friends when they say those things to you, I say, imagine our circumstance in the world were there no Israel. How many battleships would there be? How many troops would be stationed?
They shouldn't be called an ally. They don't deserve it.
4 days into the 1967 Six-Day War, these men witnessed and survived one of the most deadliest attacks on an American vessel by a close U.S. ally, Israel.
The torpedo entered the ship right about here.
42 years ago, Israeli jet fighter planes and torpedo boats bombarded an American intelligence Navy ship, the USS Liberty, with a series of attacks. The assault lasted 2 hours. According to survivors, killed 34 crewmen, injured over 170 others, and nearly sunk the ship.
The whole story of it being an accident is just not true.
Although for decades the Israelis insist the incident was a case of friendly fire, the victims of the attack confirmed the Israelis were fully aware they were attacking an American ship.
Israel claims that they were not flying a flag and that was a mistaken identity, but I know for myself that we were flying a flag.
A lot of it we believe was covered up, that it was an intentional act by Israel to sink the ship with all hands, no survivors.
Why do you think they would have bombed the ship?
Their next plan was to attack the Golan Heights. So the troops they had on the Sinai now had to be moved to take the Golan Heights. The fact that the Israelis were massacring Egyptian troops, Egyptian prisoners of war. They had so many of them, and once again, they wanted to move all the troops they could to the Syrian border, and they couldn't handle the Egyptian prisoners of war, so they massacred them. So it's perceived that they thought that we were intercepting the fact that happened.
This is a provocative act of war, would you not agree?
Oh yes, definitely.
What happened? How did the U.S. react when this happened?
USS Saratoga, which was I can't tell you how many miles away, but it was several miles away, launched aircraft to come to our aid once we got the Mayday signal out. And those jets were recalled by McNamara, I believe. They relaunched, and the second wave was called back by President Johnson himself. That he did not want, for whatever reason, did not want the U.S. involved in this on our side.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think Israel has too much money and they can have too many controlling interests in our government.
I know there was a conspiracy between our government and Israel at the time, so that's the reason why they didn't pursue it, and why the investigations and the interrogations were done and covered up because of the alliance between Israel and the United States, which I think is wrong. I don't care who they are. You just don't slap a hand for killing 34 guys and wounding over 172 people on board a ship for no apparent reason. As far as I'm concerned, it's just outright murder.
And so 42 years after the Israelis bombed an American warship, the survivors of the USS Liberty are still demanding justice. They say they will continue to raise awareness about a provocative act of war that the United States not only refused to respond to, but also help cover up. Jahan Hafiz, Press TV, Washington.
Now, there's a rationale, in my view, why Pollard should be given leniency. There's a rationale for that. But there is not a rationale to say, no, what happened did not happen and should be pardoned. And my worry is that if we were to move, if I were president, to go and pardon Pollard, you didn't ask me that question, but to pardon Pollard would make a lie out of the notion that there are certain rules, period. You cannot give classified information, period, even to a friend. If this were Great Britain, it would be the same thing. There is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity, that most people don't fully understand, that is unique and, how can I say it? So strong with Jews worldwide. There is a, I mean, you know, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.